Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. The story begins as we see a mother give her daughter an item that she must guard with her life. She tells the young girl that she must find the legendary person named Ace, and is pulled away as we see the number 0 on her hand. Years later, we see that her name is Hina, and she explains to a couple locals how she has been traveling across all of Alcia in search of the legendary Ace. The two girls discuss how it sounds like someone out of a children's story when they are startled by a man named Licht. He is hesitant to ask for something since they just met, but becomes desperate and explains that he needs money. Licht asks that she listen to his tragic story and explains how he had been sent on a shopping errand but ended up spending the money on adult goods. He frantically tries to take it back and says the money was lost in an accident, but it's too late. Licht explains that he hasn't eaten in weeks, and if he doesn't give the money back, he won't be given any food. He is clearly interested in more than money as he chases her, but gets put in check by the woman who sent him on the shopping trip. Her name is Nana. She explains that she runs a mobile tavern and offers some food as an apology. Licht would like some as well and begins to beg desperately, but Nana says he must repay her first. Hina shows Nana where she grew up on a map, but must explain that there is no town there and that it was just her and her mother. Hina says that her mother had been dragged into the ground and Nana must explain to her what the abyss is. She starts by pointing out the numbers on everyone's bodies. Everyone born into this world is obligated to count something. Nina, for example, counts the number of times a customer said her food was good. However, every time someone says it's bad, the number goes down. Hina shows her own number and finds Licht attempting to get a closer look, but gets put in his place again by several women in the town. Nana explains that the goal is to always have your number go up, because once it reaches 0, you will be sent to the abyss. What happens there is unknown, but some rumors say you just die, while others say what happens there is worse than death. The final rule about the count is that you can't disobey an order from a person with a higher count than you. The world is ruled by these numbers, and the higher your count, the higher a social standing you have. Nana is shocked to hear that Hina counts distance walked, since walking distance can only be counted every 100 kilometers, which means she has walked over 40,000. Hina explains that she had been traveling for the past 5 years in search of the legendary Ace, a hero who wears a shining white star. Nana says it sounds like a fairy tale, but Hina is insistent since someone told her that Ace would be in this town. Nana explains that she hasn't heard about a legendary Ace in all her years there, and Licht backs her up. She is dejected and begins to leave when a man arrives saying that he is the legendary Ace with the white star that she has been looking for. She is overwhelmed to have finally found him when Ace explains that he is a sergeant in the military and invites her to the guardhouse. Nana can't believe how far the rumors of an Ace being there has gone, and Licht reveals rumors he keeps hearing about men pretending to be Ace to take advantage of young women. He says people are stupid for searching for the Aces and gets distracted when kids vandalize one of his belongings. At the guardhouse, Hina becomes uncomfortable with the sergeant's advances and shows him the item her mother gave her in the hopes he would know something about it. Everyone is shocked and he asks if she is a ballot holder, but she doesn't even know what that means. Hina refuses to hand it over, so he attacks her violently, but must stop when she uses her higher status to command him. He explains that he is privileged as a member of the military and challenges her for her stars. If she refuses, then he is no longer obligated to obey her. She is totally confused but must choose between a star stake or having him attack her. After accepting the challenge, he attacks her and reveals that a star stake is simply a battle where both sides wager their count. He continues his attack and she begs him to stop, but the use of the word stop means she has forfeited the fight. He explains that he can now take some of her count and add it to his own, leaving her with only the number 1. He once again demands she give him the ballot and threatens her with another star stake if she doesn't. He is a monster and she exclaims that the Ace was supposed to be the legendary hero of the Waste Wars, the man who wears a bright white star and carves the number of vanquished foes on his body. He reveals that his star is a fake and explains that she is foolish for not knowing the Waste Wars took place 300 years ago. He says that even if Ace was real, he would already be dead, and her mother is a fool for making her look for him. He demands the ballot once more when Licht suddenly appears, declaring that Hina will accept his challenge. He explains that he will fight for her in the star stake and wager his own count. The man mocks him for having the strange negative count and lands a brutal attack. The sergeant moves the worried Hina out of the way and continues his assault on Licht, insulting him for not putting up a fight. The guards realize that something must be off, since Lick's count is below 0 and somehow he hasn't been sent to the abyss. They determine that his negative 999 count must be getting cancelled out by a separate count, and that means he must be a ballot holder. Lick rips apart his bear to reveal a weapon and addresses Hina. He tells her to give up her search for any aces as they are only murderers, and to go live an ordinary life. However, he can't let the sergeant's blatant disrespect of Hina's mother and her determination to complete her journey go unpunished. Lick demands that the sergeant return her count and unsheathes his sword, revealing a count of its own next to a white star. In that moment, a guard explains that he is not an ordinary ballot holder, and Hina realizes that she had finally found the legendary ace. It is explained that there was a conflict called the Waste War many years ago. Eventually, a group of heroes called Aces appeared. They wore bright shining stars, possessed abilities far beyond any other warriors, and would carve the number of enemies they defeated onto their blades. However, when the war ended, all the Aces vanished. The guards are terrified of the ace, but the sergeant explains that he can't be one since the Aces existed 300 years ago. Lick tells Hina to close her eyes and the two vanish to avoid the guard's attack. The sergeant demands that he stop hiding, but Lick reveals himself to explain that he isn't and is simply walking. He uses his steps to attack and demands that the sergeant return the count that Hina had obtained from traveling so far. The sergeant is still upset though and tries to fight back. He believes he is the chosen one, explaining he is the fastest swordsman in the military and no one can avoid his blade. Their fight causes tremors that can be felt back in town, and Nana explains that it is the doing of a legendary ace with a negative 999 count. His legs exert an unthinkable amount of force and his attacks move quicker than the human eye, earning him the name Ace of Flashing Strikes. A man remarks how his negative count must mean he is extremely weak, but Nana explains that just counts the number of times he has been rejected by women. Hina then opens her eyes to find they are floating in the sky, and Lick apologizes for scaring her. She isn't scared though, just shocked since people aren't able to fly, but Lick says that some might actually be able to. She wants to know if he is actually Ace, but he avoids the question, and she says that she would like to treat him to dinner afterwards if he is still hungry. Lick says to not worry and promises to get her count back, however she says that it's more important to not get himself hurt. He understands and the two plummet down, landing a powerful blow that instantly ends the fight. The sergeant begs for mercy and the shadows emerge to transfer the majority of his points to Hina. Lick is glad to see that her number is much higher now and shows how he didn't get hurt like he promised. Hina thinks about how she has finally done what her mother had asked and can't help but break into tears. A guard watches them and Lick takes the ballot from Hina. He can't believe his luck as a ballot like that is worth a lot of money. Hina assumes that he is joking, but he is rude to her and explains that if she wants it back, then she should bet her stars for it. She is in shock and can hardly speak, so he leaves her a doll to make it a fair trade. She wonders why her mom wanted her to find such a bad person, but Lick reveals that there are others called Aces as well, and he must not be the one she was looking for. He leaves and she is still in disbelief at his betrayal. Hina returns to town completely dejected and informs Nana of everything that happened. Lick has taken the last thing her mother gave her and is lost as to where she will go now. Nana observes the doll and tells Hina that she should hold on to it. When she does, it bursts to reveal her ballot and she becomes more confused than ever. Nana explains that owning one is illegal and is actually one of the worst offenses someone can commit. If she would have kept it, the military would have hunted her down and thugs everywhere would attempt to take it as well. She finds Lick on his way out of town, but he refuses to have the cart stop. She doesn't give up though and explains that she had traveled all alone for years in search of him. She had no help and no one to keep her company, living with the fear that it would be like that forever. After meeting him though, she thought that had changed and reminds him that he agreed to dinner but can only call him a liar as he disappears into the distance. She exclaims that she now hates him and his negative count goes to 1,000. Hours later, a guard from earlier now sees that she still has the ballot after all, but explains that he has no interest in it. However, he is extremely thankful that she was able to draw out his true target, which was the legendary Ace, who had been undetectable and was thought to be dead. He admires the Ace's amazing fight prowess and reports back to his true commanding officer. He explains how he witnessed everything with his own eyes and expresses confidence that it was the ace of flashing strikes, Licht Bach. Later, troops explain to Nana that Licht is wanted for the crime of stealing a ballot and explains she hasn't seen him. Hina is glad to see that the soldier from earlier hadn't reported her, and Nana says she shouldn't get too confident, but she is too distracted to listen as she worries about Licht. Elsewhere, we see that a master sergeant named Lynn does some important work when she is shown Licht's wanted poster but just ignores it. The messenger's name is Pele, and she takes him on a trip to put up flyers for volunteering to make a park for kids. He is surprised to see her in the middle of another kind act when she retrieves a stuck ball for some children. Lynn doesn't miss her opportunity to do another good deed when she helps some guys push their stuck cart. Pele wants them to do their assigned work to avoid being scolded by the lieutenant. She explains that their orders are to catch criminals, but there have never been any since she arrived in that town. She says it's fine though, since they can still enjoy helping people, and he reveals that it's better for her since her count is based on helping people. The only problem is, for it to count, the people need to be in serious trouble, and none have been so far. He says she will never get promoted this way, but Lynn explains that one day a criminal will appear and she will arrest him so hard. He finally gets to show her the wanted poster of Licht that explains there is a high possibility he will be wearing a strange mask. Pele must then take a moment to explain who the aces are. She can't believe someone from that long ago would still be alive and doubts he would be able to wear a mask all the time. They both stop in their tracks when they are shocked to find an odd mask wearer. She thinks his mask is identical to the poster, but the man explains he is just a little pudding cup passing through trying to make some sales. She apologizes, but after a moment decides she wants to take a peek anyway. He explains that he is just unpopular with the ladies, which only manages to confuse her. The man shows his negative count and reveals that is how many times he has been rejected. Since then, he has always been truly afraid of showing his face to any females, as he is too afraid to see the look of disgust in their face. Tears begin to flow uncontrollably, and he expresses how his only wish is to go on a date with a girl before he dies. Pele explains that the guy is as desperate as someone can get, and she should go on a date with him since it will grow her count tremendously. Lynn is hesitant since she has never been on a date before, but Pele has a helpful book that explains they should first hold hands. Her count goes up, and the book then says to drink from the same glass. She is a bit weirded out but gives it a shot, only to find he is trying to sneak a kiss. Pele then has them cross an old bridge but doesn't explain its benefit. Midway, it begins to shake, and the pudding cup uses the opportunity to get in close with Lynn. Pele says that he has his back and rocks the bridge some more. The sergeant falls, but the pudding cup's quick reflexes manages to save her. Later, Lynn is ready for the date to end, but the pudding cup doesn't want his first taste of happiness to be cut short. The guilt sinks in, and Pele reveals the next recommendation called the lap pillow, which goes well, increasing her count. The next step is some flirting, but she only manages to talk about how nice the weather is. The pudding cup says it's okay, but rather it be dark, so he could gaze up at the star-filled sky with someone kind like her. Pele says that leads perfectly into the next step, which is a nice thigh massage. He can't believe how easily her count goes up and admits that he may have skipped some steps when she says they are moving too fast. Pele has had enough fun and finally reveals that the pudding cup must actually be a ballot holder. He reminds Lynn that someone with a negative count that doesn't fall into the abyss must be holding an item with a counter, and assumes that he is the ballot holder on the wanted poster. She removes the mask to finally reveal that it was actually Licht all along. She turns her attention back to Licht to see that he has taken her sword. He thinks they shouldn't bring violence into this and that they should make love, not war. Lynn reveals that she doesn't need her sword as she unleashes a flurry of kicks. However, she is shocked to see that he doesn't even have a scratch on him. Licht dramatically explains that she did hurt him though. The moment the two of them met, she struck his heart. She doesn't think it can work between a sergeant and a wanted criminal, but eventually begins to consider it, explaining that she would like to have at least 3 kids. However, Pele brings it to her attention that Licht has already left. Back in town, Hina helps Nana with the tavern but is worried about Licht. Nana explains that they must save money for the trip to search for him, but are interrupted when the lieutenant arrives. She denies knowing Licht, but he is confident that's not true and gives her one more chance. She explains that last she heard, Licht was headed east, but the lieutenant once again figures she is lying and commands that they search west. He punishes them for their deception and heads out on the hunt for a legendary ace. Thanks for watching part 1. If this video gets 10,000 likes, I will know you like the anime and make a part 2.